One of the most common questions I get asked is, how do I become a legal drone pilot? What is the process and the requirements? In this episode, we sit down with Riaan from Super Drone Guy and discuss everything RPL. Let's get into it. How's it, guys? Dave from We Buy Drones here. Today we've got a special guest and a good friend and co-pilot, Riaan from Skypixel Productions, and we are going to have a little chat regarding RPLs and hobbies flying. Riaan, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey Dave, thanks for the opportunity. I've been doing drones like yourself for about plus minus 10, 12 years, and passionately flying, and got involved, and then the laws came along a few years later, and as you know, we had to all do a lot of things to get legal.
Yeah.
And so basically, like I said, 12 years experience plus minus, probably about 4,000 hours. Now that would be from R&D hours to actual hobby hours to actual flying hours. Definitely been commercially flying for at least 8 of those 12 years. And flown around all sorts of interesting things. Very, very fortunate and very, very blessed to have had that opportunity. Ships, naval vessels, nuclear power reactors, mines, cars, boats, planes, trains.
So you've been there, done it, and seen it all.
Yeah.
With that amount of experience, and that's what we've got Riaan in today. Being in the retail side, I get this question asked by many clients in terms of legalities. And Riaan, with his experience, has been flying for a very long time. So thought I'd get him in today and have a chat regarding RPLs, why it's necessary, the do's and don'ts. So Riaan, could you tell us why is it so important to get licensed?
All right, but so why get licensed? It's to uphold the law. It's to fly safely. It's all about air safety. Even if you look at do the courses, you always see it's always about safety. You know, one can be technically right, but it's more about the safety than being technically right. So I think it's about responsible flying. If you're the hobbyist, fly responsibly, fly safely. If you're the commercial guy, the same thing. So for the commercial guy, if you want to sell your footage, that's what makes it commercial. So you need to have all the laws in place. So when anyone says, hey, where did you get this beautiful photograph or footage from? Well, it was done at a certain time at a certain place, all the permits, all legalities, all clearances.
So what would be the process of actually obtaining an RPL? Maybe you can give us a little bit more insight into that. And we also know that is just a starting block. There's a lot more that comes after your RPL.
All right, so the process to get involved is you need to get your RPL, as you said, but that's like a driver's license. The only difference is when you get your learner's license, you can go drive with another driver. It doesn't work that way in aviation. Your drone license is only one part of many parts. So what do I mean by that? You need to belong to what's called an ROC, another one of those lovely acronyms, which means a RPAS Operation Certificate. So these ROC companies allow someone like myself who's got a small business. I'm the only pilot. I've got some other staff who do graphic design and that sort of thing. But as a pilot, I can't have all the licenses. So they say, well, you can join our company, and when you need to do your drone footage, you're on site as a legal pilot, you're flying for us, and you can get your footage, and it covers all the legalities. So I'm registered with one of the ROC companies as one of their pilots, and through that conduit, I'm able to get the footage I need for my clients, which I then, Skypixel Productions, is just really a company that can produce any kind of video from ground footage to aerial footage, and I can then encompass all of it legally and safely.
So once you've done your RPL, that's the starting block. That's where you start. Then you need to join an ROC.
Correct.
And from what I understand, there's other courses you can go and do to enhance your license per se. Some being beyond visual line of sight, night ratings, instructors, and so on and so forth. So RPL is just really the start. With an RPL, you cannot legally operate, am I correct?
There's an RPL, if that's all you got, you can do nothing with it. So make sure that if you're going to go spend the time and money to get an RPL, that you have the rest in mind. So once you've joined an ROC company, they will obviously induce you into their system. Every company has a slightly different procedure of doing things, but they also obviously follow the CAA's laws about that.
Yes.
But anyway, so you join them. They'll do an introduction course to their company of how their systems work. You'll then obviously have to get your pilot kit, which can consist of safety vests, PPL gear, your actual handheld VHF radio, fire extinguishers, all that kind of stuff. So joining these companies will come with a fee, and that can be anything from 15 to 20 to 30,000 Rand, depending on what company you're going to go work for, under what solution. The more technical it is, like if you're going to go fly a Matrice 300, obviously bigger machine, or you're going to go into the agricultural side, there's always costs attached. But let's presume you're starting off and you want to go fly with a Mavic and you want to take some pretty photos. You will then also still need to be able to fly in controlled airspace. So you'll need to do controlled airspace rating. It's about a day's course. You'd need to, if you want to fly at night at an event, you'd need to show competency in that as well. And then obviously get your nighttime rating. And then there's other things that you need, strobe lights and all that kind of stuff. So every solution has a different answer.
Yes.
And it's something you can be proud about. And I think the key here is to start thinking like an aviator. Don't think of yourself as someone who's gone and bought themselves an expensive camera or expensive toy in some cases, and that's all that it is. It's something you can be proud of, because when you have to fly in a controlled airspace, like let's say at the V&A waterfront, where there's a helipad, and I've had the privilege to do some work there. There's sometimes in half an hour you can be dealing with 8 to 10 helicopters flying over you. And they need to know where you are. You need to know where they are. Yes. And as long as you can both communicate, that's what all the rules are about. The safe operation of drones in commercial airspace. Because ultimately, like airplanes invaded birds' airspace, so drones are invading airplane airspace. Yes. And somehow we have to have a way of working together where this can work for everybody. Because as you know, technology is never going to stop advancing. And what works today may not work tomorrow, but at least there's going to be a procedure involved where the hobbyists and the commercial guys can work in controlled airspace.
No, brilliant. So I jumped the gun a little bit. We went from RPL straight into ROC. Let's discuss RLA in between that, because now you've got your RPL. If you're starting from base, from scratch, first drone, so RPL's done. Now you've got to do an RLA and then an ROC. Would that be correct? Do you want to give us a little bit of insight on what an RLA is and the process?
All right, so an RLA is basically your airworthy certificate for your drone, just like you get a roadworthy certificate for your car. So your drone has to be registered on that ROC as one of the company's assets. And then you as a pilot, as well as other pilots that may work for that company, can actually fly the same drone. So basically it's the registration of an aircraft on an ROC as an asset, just like you would get a taxi that was registered to a certain company and their drivers could utilize that taxi when needed, safely, effectively, and according to their operation procedures.
Okay. So once you've RLA'd your drone under whichever ROC you choose, that drone can only operate under that ROC. So you can't use it on another ROC. Basically,
that drone may only be operated by a pilot that belongs to that ROC with all flight clearances in place. That drone may not take off unless there's all the paperwork, all the clearances, and all the permissions involved. Otherwise, you literally would be like taking off from Cape Town or Joburg. It'd be like stealing an aircraft kind of thing. That's the law that it's operating under. You as a pilot can be a pilot for multiple companies. So just like real pilots can go and pilot today for company A and tomorrow for company B. But then again, when you're their pilot, you're going to be operating on their operation of what's called an OPSPEC as one of their pilots with one of their assets.
Okay.
So you as a pilot can go fly for any company.
But your registered craft remains under your ROC. Okay, great. So what would you say pros and cons are for the average hobbyist flight? Because this is where I get a lot of questions. Clients come in and say, but I can't fly here and I can't fly there and I'm not allowed past this height. So our legal height is 120 meters and visual line of sight is 500 meters. Those are legal requirements as a hobbyist.
Yes.
50 meters from roads, 50 meters from people, 10 kilometers from airports or national key points, police stations, museums, that sort of stuff. Is there anything I missed?
Well, look, there's a lot of technicalities and nitty-gritties that one can get into, but I think if you followed what you said, you'd be pretty safe. If you go to the CA's website and you can provide the link, you'll see exactly what hobbyists can and can't do. But basically, as a hobbyist, you may not use your footage for any kind of commercial gain. You may not monetize it. You may not give it to somebody who's going to monetize it. So in other words, if you say, hey, I'm going to go stay over at this lovely little bed and breakfast on the weekend, it's in the middle of nowhere, they've given me the right to fly my drone, I take some photographs, I give it back to them, they use it on their website, there's a monetary gain involved from them. They could then be contacted and asked, all right, you've used drone footage commercially on your website. Was this a commercial flight? And unfortunately, because you've used it on your website, it then becomes a commercial flight. So it is a bit tricky in that kind of way. Other than that, I would just say stay away from cars, people, and buildings and places that you don't have permission to be around.
Got it.
Fly responsibly, fly safely, join a summer field if you have to, go talk to a couple of farmers in your area. There's always a beautiful place where you can go. And I myself, as a commercial pilot, don't always fly commercially. I sometimes just keep one of my private drones with me, and I'm driving down on a long road and I see some beautiful horses on a farm. I drive down the farm road, knock on the farmer's door and say, hey, sir, I see you got some beautiful stuff here. Do you mind if I fly here and take a couple of shots? And today I can't think of any time where I've ever been denied the opportunity.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all about just
doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. Flying responsibly.
Yeah. Because if and when something goes wrong, we always think to ourselves, it'll never be me. Just like, well, why do you have car insurance? Why do you have home insurance? All this kind of stuff. Cover yourself for the reason that, well, one day something's going to go wrong and I don't want it to be me. And if it is me, at least you were there with permission. At least you were there doing what a reasonable man is expected to do. So that one day, if something does unfortunately go wrong, where you've hurt somebody or you've hit a car or whatever,
yes,
it can be explained legally, safely, and responsibly, because you don't want to be found in a position where you're being irresponsible.
Absolutely.
Because then you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely.
And rightly so.
Yes.
So yeah, just do the right thing, fly safe.
There we go. Absolutely. Keep it safe. So with hobbyists / commercial guys, who is actually monitoring illegal activity, if we can call it illegal flying? Let's say a guy flying in a national park, which is also illegal, or a guy flying close to a police station. Who kind of monitors that? Who's going to give you a slap on the wrist?
So in some cases, it'll be a slap on the wrist. In some cases, it can be a hefty fine or even a case opened up against you. So let's backtrack before we get to that part. Well, the civil aviation is in charge of what happens in the airspace. So that would be number one. SAPS has been trained up in various divisions across the country. There are now cases that are pending. As of probably about somewhere between 6 to 8 months ago, all the right prosecution codes have come into place. Because as you know, when legislation passes, you don't necessarily have everything in place at that specific moment.
Yes, yes.
All that the government says is, hang on a second, we need to put some laws in place because this can get out of control.
Yes.
And that is true. So back to, again, doing the right thing, doing the legal thing.
100%.
So yes,
no
basically,
matter how pretty it is.
Yeah, I mean, we can all get some amazing shots.
Yes, yes.
If it's going to be legal or not, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically the civil aviation, who's the governing authority, and SAPS, who's going to police that, and your public. I can count in 1 week, for the amount of flying that I do, I've always got somebody coming and saying to me, do you know that that's illegal? Do you have a license?
Oh, really?
And then I have to on site. We did a job not too long ago in the middle of Cape Town, and I was glad to see that SAPSA was in the area, came, tapped me on the shoulder. They waited for me to land. They asked me for all my documentation and permits. If I hadn't had it, I'd probably be in a lot of trouble.
Oh.
So what can happen right now is you can get a massive financial fine against you. Worse than that, you and your client, if you got one, and you shouldn't have if you don't have the licenses, will both get a criminal charge opened up against your name. And that can hamper international travel in the future. If you got a criminal charge, there are some companies that just won't allow you entry. So it can get serious.
Yeah.
Because again, you're transgressing South African airspace law.
100%. And at the end of the day, if you as a hobbyist are flying irresponsibly, all you're doing is damaging the industry for the guys that do fly responsibly.
Yeah, that's true.
You're giving us all a bad name because you are doing something you shouldn't be doing, and it's frowned upon as a general community that everybody who flies a drone gets up to nonsense, which is absolutely not the case.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I wear both hats. I'm a hobbyist and I fly with a lot of passion and enjoyment. I still been, after all these years, I get great joy in flying and getting beautiful photographs. It's probably what keeps me going. But at the same time, I'm a commercial guy. But now the hobbyist might say, yeah, but you're probably putting this video together because you want to scare us in staying out of your market and all that kind of stuff. And that's not the truth.
Yeah.
If we don't care about our own industry, whether you're a hobbyist or a commercial guy, nobody else will. Exactly. Just like if you're if you do archery, if you do deep sea diving, if you go do diving and you go steal some paddle moon somewhere, you're going to get into trouble because there's laws to be followed for a good reason. So I hope that the message goes out that it's not about protecting a market. It isn't. It's about protecting the air. It's about protecting people. It's about doing the right thing. Because like I said before, it's easy for us to sit around the fire and moan about everything that's not right in our country. But in a small way, you're contributing towards it. If you're not paying your taxes, if you're not stopping at a stop street, and if you're flying a drone illegal, or whatever it is that you may or may not be doing. It's not for me to say. I don't want to be perceived as the drone police. And unfortunately, the minute you're in a chat room or somewhere or WhatsApp group these days and you bring a bit of legalities and responsibility to it, unfortunately, it seems that most guys think you're trying to be the drone police. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
No, absolutely.
So it's about having fun.
But having fun, and I mean, you guys who are commercial drone pilots, you spent thousands of money getting to where you are with all your equipment, all the licensing, staying current. This is your bread and butter. So it's quite understandable that some of the illegal hobbyists might get upset about it, but you are protecting your bread and butter for your table and also the industry, because you still want to have a job in a year's time and love what you're doing.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, for if you know anything about selling houses and being a rental agent, the rental agents and the people that stay in houses have to go through certain courses and they have to get certain things legally in place, because you don't want me to go set up a shop on the corner, put up a little sign saying, hey, the houses are us, come to me and I'll sell your house and do a good deal. And the reason behind that is because there's a lot of opportunity for illegal activities where people can then lose their money, lose their homes and all that. So those laws have been put in place to protect the buyer and the seller.
Yes.
And one should see the drone laws is there to protect the hobbyist, to protect the commercial guy, and to protect the public.
Yeah.
It's not there to spoil your fun.
No, absolutely.
Just like you can buy a racing car, get it registered, do all the right things, and go race around the Killarney racing track and have a great time.
Absolutely.
But you can't take that roadster and go down the middle of the N2 at 300 kilometers an hour.
No.
For what reason? Because you're going to probably kill yourself, probably kill other people, and it's not going to work. Same difference. And if people can think of it that way, it's quite simple. Eh?
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right, so could you give us a bit more of an indication in terms of costs for your RPL, what it's going to take to kind of get that license?
All right, so let's presume you've got your drone, whatever that drone might be.
Yes.
You'll need to join the ROC. There's going to be a fee for that. And the best is do your homework. Phone up a few ROCs, ask them what is their joining fees, what is their monthly fees, and on how they work. Okay. Just like anything else you're going to buy, make sure you read the bottom line, because it can get quite pricey. There's pretty much a middle road for everybody that's out there, depending on the industry, whether you're doing security or whether you're going to be doing, we call it pretty photos or surveying.
Yes.
But do your homework. So you can probably, joining fees, and that means their induction fees, all that kind of stuff, probably anywhere between 15 to 30, depending on who they are. Then you would need to get your pilot kit, your radio, and all that kind of stuff. That can probably set you back another 7.5, 10 grand for when the radio loan's about 5 grand for a decent handheld radio. So you've done your RPL, you've got your drone, and you've joined an ROC, and those are probably the kind of costs. Okay. Then there will be renewal costs. So every second year you would need to do your RPL renewal. You don't do the whole course again, you just do the actual flying. They want to just see, are you still competent? Okay. There is a aviation medical that's involved, and you actually have to do every year to second year, depending on how old you are.
Yeah, I believe it works on age. So I think if you're under 50, it's valid for 4 years. If you're over 50, I think it's every second year, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that.
Okay.
I'm 25, so I won't tell you.
No, exactly.
No, you're right. So that does depend on. So that's about 1,500, depending on who you go to.
Yes.
And then there might be some other smaller fees along the way for getting those other ratings like the nighttime rating, because again, the ROC has to protect all their pilots and make sure that the pilots are capable of flying in those conditions.
Yes.
So again, it's always about safety. It's always about responsibility. And then every ROC's got different paperwork, different procedures, different software, and you'll be trained on all of that. But that's pretty much the ballpark there. So yeah, if you split it up over 3 to 6 months, it can be doable. But maybe you've got the cash on the pillow somewhere.
And you can get it done.
And you can get it done.
Yeah.
But it does open up doors for you. I couldn't turn back by the time I had to get legal, because I had advanced too far. It became my living. So for me, I had to just push through and get it done. And it's definitely opened doors for me. In the movie industries, every year for the last 5 years, I go to Plet for about 6 weeks and go do some really cool stuff that I really enjoy. And that door wouldn't have been able to be opened for me if I hadn't been legal.
And many others.
Of course, you've just come back from a month's film production shoot in
Yeah,
Plet.
yeah, I get to,
Lucky man.
You know, it's horrible work. That's how you get to.
You get to shoot horses and beach buggies and whales and dolphins.
Sit on yachts.
It's terribly hard work. Yeah.
Hard work. You lucky guy. Lucky guy. So Riaan, I like your shirt. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Super Drone Guy there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really fly, but my grandson believes I can. I'll give you the description. I put together a little fun edit from footage that I managed to get while doing some commercial jobs in Cape Town. From the middle of Cape Town, it looks like I'm landing and taking off from the buildings like Superman would.
Epic.
That's just a bit of clever After Effects stuff. Yeah, Super Drone Guy really exists just to have a bit of fun and to, again, promote the legalities around it. So I've got this little channel that I've only just started, so please like and subscribe.
Yes, guys, go check out his channel. I will link it in the description below.
But it's all about promoting safe flying and fun flying, and also just just sharing with the world the beautiful places that I get to go. Because again, it's a privilege. It's always a privilege.
Yes.
I always say between hard work and God's grace, the privileges come. And if I get to go to a beautiful place and see some interesting stuff, I'd like to share it.
Yes.
Yeah, put some good content on YouTube, not just whatever is the next thing to scroll through.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what Super Drone Guy is all about.
Awesome. Right, guys. So that's the conclusion for today. If you wanna fly, be legal. Don't be naughty. Don't get up to nonsense. If you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comments below, and we'll reply. Riaan, thank you for your time today. Again, it's been fun and it's been good to chat. So, guys, give us a like, subscribe, leave us a comment on the video, and we will catch you on the next one. See you later.